Hi, friends. I am having a bit of a tough day and night today, so I just wanted to say a few words, things that are helping me in the moment, and hopefully it can help you too, um, in some kind of way. Fingers crossed, right? So, sometimes I just get into these states, a lot of people do, where it starts to feel doomed, right? Like the situation where we are in life, it can feel doomed or it can feel like we are in jail until like we might have hope like something good will happen in the future, but we just feel like we're in jail until then and we just have to suffer and there's nothing to make things good in the present. And as I was having these thoughts tonight, I just realized like, oh, I've been, I think that the things that I've been seeing and listening to lately, and the way that I have been responding to it in my head, I've been overly inspired by things that it feels good to see. Like seeing people live in fancy houses or seeing people, reading about people having careers that, take a lot of time and effort to establish or just, you know, I is inspiring on one hand, and then on the other hand, I get snapped back to reality, and I'm kind of like, oh, like I have been fantasizing about something that is not realistic for me, but a part of my mind has been fantasizing, what if this could be my life? You know, um, I mean, there's always a maybe for like, 20, 30 years from now, maybe my life will be in these ways that my mind likes to fantasize about in order to have those escapist moments, those escapist moments that make it feel like at least hope that it gives us hope, right? Or um or even sometimes just seeing people be talented, it can really like if we're not for me, if I'm not in the right mindset, it can really give me this sense of like, well, what am I? Like, and if I'm not careful in how I weaponize my thoughts against myself, I can really have like these feelings build up that I don't have any worthwhile skills. I don't have anything that can allow me to earn money and have a safe lifestyle and a sustainable future, a fun life. Like I don't have um attributes that make me one of the lucky ones who gets to enjoy being alive. And all of these paths of thinking is important to recognize and replace it with something else, right? So for me, I'm realizing like I am not being realistic or fair to myself regarding what is actually like joyful for me, because the most joyful thing for me, it's like okay, so if I see like say I see somebody in a fancy house and I'm like, "Oh my God, that is so luscious and beautiful." And I'm imagining like me exactly as I am now, just transposed into that house. Well, the truth is, in order to have that reality, that house, like my life would be totally different. I would have to do things and make sacrifices that I am not built to do, you know? Thing like my quality of life would be terrible and I wouldn't be able to actually enjoy the the beautiful home. And I know you could say like, "Oh, well, what if one day I'm still me, but I increase my capabilities and my skills in a way that I still can have a safe home that I help design and build it, and that it has like a beautiful yard where I can garden." Like what if I'm able to have that one day? Well, maybe, but I'm gonna have to be a whole different person for that too. And all I can do is be appreciating like what is realistic for me as far as actual next steps go instead of like this far out fantasizing. Far out. Like this fantasizing that is like 10, 15, 20, 30 years in the future. And it kind of breaks my heart. And then I end up feeling just so angry and discontented with everything and all the opportunities that I become blind to that are in my actual reality, that are a part of who I actually am. And I think that that is really tragic because, like, what I should be going for is the beautiful things that are actually tangible to me because real is beautiful and real, you know? It's one thing to fantasize like what an ultimate perfect life could be, but that is like completely divorced from reality, and divorced from my actual me, who I actually am now. Future me doesn't exist yet. Who I actually am now in the present with all my unique set of strengths and limitations and, opportunities. Um, and just understanding like if me, who I am now, was to try to have this lifestyle that I'm fantasizing about now, like it would be hellish for me. I wouldn't even be able to enjoy it. I would be having like horrific emotional and mental pain. And I would it wouldn't be sustainable and I could potentially get myself into a lot more trauma because I would be exposing myself to situations that don't care for my needs and therefore it can bring the worst out of me. Like that's how everybody is. Like everybody's version of nasty is different. Like some people are really nasty and other people are just like more in extreme pain, but they don't really spread that nastiness to others so much. Or maybe we do kind of in the sense that we are less capable of being a part of um like mutual community, mutual partnership to, take care of everyone together and let our talents be useful to other people. So, but everybody becomes nasty or you know, lost potential or whatever you want to say when our needs aren't cared for. And we know that our needs aren't cared for by like we know that there's missing needs aren't cared for by the fact that we are suffering and that we, aren't able to live by our values. And our values should always match our capabilities or, that intuitive sense of like aspiration. Like if I don't aspire to be a brain surgeon, it's probably because I don't have that capacity. So, that I don't know. Anyway, just thinking a bit about how for me today, how important it is to really stay firm and not, not seeing myself as like someone that I am just like pitying and thinking like not that it's wrong to see us in a pitied way. Sometimes, grief and pity and acknowledging the parts of us that are victims, that is very necessary and courageous. And, it has a beautiful place. But I don't want that to be the only perspective I see myself through, especially when I'm experiencing emotional pain and, just like tension, fight, flight, freeze mode activated, feeling doomed, feeling like I don't want to exist as a result of, how I am framing things and seeing my outlook and understanding who I am in relation to my surroundings, my opportunities, my potentials, it's also distracting and it prevents us from enjoying the present moment and from being the optimal version of our realistic self in the moment. Like for me, like my actual realistic self, it's not like I have to push myself to try to be perfectionistic in order to try to prove like that I can have a good future, like, going over the top, trying to perform perfectly. That, that has, it can be helpful sometimes, but also has a big degree of hollowness to it. Um, for for me, I don't know. For me, I've just been trying to look at how can I understand different version, like instead of, okay, basically today something I've been thinking about is instead of trying to identify and fix my flaws, how can I identify and experiment with what my joy is, like the parts of myself that I'm not acquainted with because I, have been traumatized, distracted, didn't have the right resources to, um, you know, all the things that all of us go through. We're continually learning, everyone is continually learning things about ourselves throughout our whole lives. And, so I was just asking myself, like, okay, if I were to try to be exactly who I am now, with all the resources I have now, with the same history that I have, with the same, like, messy, imperfect surroundings and mistakes, all the messiness. What is something that I could do that would feel like, but this is not like, trying to have like a big sense of control. Normally, how my brain has learned to find a sense of safety, pleasure, reward is through getting all hyped up, all focused on words, all about trying to, you know, be super productive, controlling, of feeling like I can perfectly control myself so I can perfectly control my future. That has been how my brain has just learned to find a sense of pleasure and reward. But I'm like, okay, what are other things? What about being in my body? Because today I was like, it just feels exhausting. Like, I was like, I want to have a good day today, but it feels so exhausting to try to, like, do all these things I'm supposed to do off the checklist and, like, force myself. Like, I'm, like, sticking a vitamin down my throat and, forcing myself to swallow. And then I was like, okay, what's a version of caring for myself that actually, like, feels more lazy, more gentle, more just something new that I haven't really experienced much of. So I was like, I was just imagining, like, wouldn't that be nice if I could enjoy dancing, I could enjoy movement because I do sometimes, but I get pain pretty quickly, like in my neck. And I also have this sense of, like, frustration, like wishing that I could move in a way where it feels good in my body and, like, I feel really entertained. And I know it's kind of the same thing as yoga, where it's like you do the practice so that you can get past those mental blocks to prevent you and your mind and your body from working in partnership together. But I also don't want to be so distracted and caught up in trying to dissect through words and, like, intellectualizing it. And I don't know, it's hard when, I did dance around today and it was nice in its own way, but it's also, that frustration of just being like, man, why does everything that should, it's this anger, right? This anger at the past. Like, why does everything that is just, people have, the people are born with just having it be a part of their life. It's like second nature to them. Like, why am I one of the people who has to learn this manually? And it doesn't feel good to be in my body. Like a lot of the time, I spend a lot of time and energy trying to just not feel that I'm in my body, or just like try to really minimize me feeling emotions or feeling bodily sensations because I'm just used to it all being so negative and so revolving around tension and pain, and, you know, uh, emotional and physical. And, it's a big, heavy thing. And I know that for, it's very common what I'm describing. And I'm grateful that I even have awareness that this is a problem that I have, or something I care about that I want to change. But it's also, I don't know, that also gives me questions. I mean, I guess that's part of the reason why I make these videos and I write a bunch is because those for me are the most accessible ways for me to try to feel a sense of relief, like right now, exactly as I am with all the messiness. Because when I try to even think of like anything that has to do with like aspiration or change, like if only I can change myself and I can access this aspirational way of self-expression, self-regulation, self-care, like dancing. Like if only I can access that, it just becomes another sense of like, oh, everything's out of reach. So I don't know. Yeah, this is just my thought process today. And, um, you know, movement is great, but it's still something that I am definitely practicing and trying to figure out how to not go into hyper analytical mode, um, and how to just try to feel more, focus on feeling the bodily sensations and moving. And, I'll probably figure out ways of, instead of just trying to repress my thoughts that naturally come, finding another way to let that that river, not try to dam up the river of my really active brain, but instead find something else that my thoughts can focus on instead of just trying to hyper analyze and make it so complicated. But maybe being able to like imagine visuals that are really beautiful, or listening to music that maybe absorbs my mind power. Not a lot of music does that most of the time. I think it's going to be mostly about the visuals for me. I'm kind of thinking out loud at this point, but yeah, I think it's just so so necessary that if you start feeling really down and doomed about where you are in life, to however you can, whether you have to make a video like I am right now and talk to yourself, whether you have to like make a little audio recording of you talking to yourself, I do that too, whether you just write it down like paper or on your phone, like whatever way you use to process it, I think it's so beautiful and essential to let it out what you're thinking and feeling in a way that you can reflect on, or they can open things up to processing more. Um, and so you can be like, oh, those are the distortions, the mental distortion, or sorry, cognitive distortions of like, for me, putting too much pressure on myself for what I think I should be, and realizing that, I want to be a little bit more aware. It's not like the internet or TV or whatever is all bad for me, but I know for me, I need to be more aware of when I am consuming aspirational material that makes me just, nothing's wrong with thinking about my dreams for the future and motivating things and feeling that pleasure and beauty at seeing wonderful things in the world. But I also want to honor my wounds and my limitations, that it I just can't handle a lot of it, you know. At some point it becomes I just start feeling less appreciative of myself, um, as I am now, and less aware of the strengths and beautiful things that I'm trying to learn how to like feel emotionally into my own life and into my own sense of self, you know? And sometimes the things I consume online or the things I think about, or just like conversations with my boyfriend, like talking about aspirational things, it can just be out of balance and reinforce something I already struggle with, which is this sense that I am behind, that I am always like I'm like in prison now, just like having to basically like pay some kind of debt of suffering until I get like someone breaks me out of prison and saves me, and I know that's not a healthy way of thinking in the least. So, yeah. Anyway, this is longer than I expected or hoped it would be, but yeah, take care. Bye.